Okay, so this is week 6 Friday for Math 6 quarter 4, and this is a worksheet that is going to be on percentages and ratios. So let's go ahead and get started. So read the instructions, please, Grayson.
Use the proportion as part of the only percent over 100. Write each problem as a proportion and solve. 1 year, 120 million roses were sold on Valentine's Day. 75% of them were red. How many red roses were sold on Valentine's Day?
Okay, so use the proportion parts over whole, right? Equals percent over 100. There was another way that I taught you. What do we say about parts and whole? What number or what word is it? Is over of, right?
Yeah.
Okay. So 120 million roses were sold on Valentine's Day. How do you write 120 million? How many zeros do you have?
Oh, 6.
Yeah, after 120, right?
Yeah.
So 75% of them are red. Well, how do you write 75% to a decimal? What would that be in a decimal?
0.75.
Yeah. So how many were red roses? I mean, you don't have to use the part over whole thing. I mean, what would you do? You don't divide, you multiply. Like that. So what would that give you? Grab your calculator and figure it out. What do you have? How many roses?
90 million.
How many zeros?
6.
Okay.
7 technically.
90 million red. That makes sense, right? Because if 75% are red, 25% are not red, right? And if you think about 90 million is pretty close to that. So one way of thinking about this, Grayson, like an easier way of thinking about this. Okay, 120, right? Million, correct? 75%, right?
Yeah.
If I take 120 million and I divide it by 4, what would that be? What's 12 divided by 4?
50 million.
No, what's 12 divided by 4?
5.
12 divided by 4.
Oh, 3.
30, right?
Yeah.
75% means it's times 3. Do you get that? Because 100% is times by 4. Do you see that?
Okay.
Like quarters, right?
Yeah.
So then 30 times 3 is what? 90 million. That's one way you can check. So here's another way. So we're going to put or. Remember, is over of equals percent over 100. Instead of writing is over of, what's another way of writing is over of?
Part whole.
Part whole. Well, 120, is that part or is that whole?
That's whole.
It's whole because 120 million, right?
Yeah.
75% goes right there. Do you agree with that?
Yeah.
Over 100, right? What is X? X is the number of red roses. That's part of the roses, right? So then let's go ahead and cross multiply this. 100x equals 120 times 75. What's 120 times 75? Grab your calculator.
Are we doing the rest of this before night?
We'll finish this today.
9,000.
9,000? 9,000 equals 100x. Do you see that? How do you get rid of 100? We divide it, right? So that gives me, cancel, 90 million. Okay, so I want you to write down 90 million right there.
Where?
Right here. Under number 1.
Oh, I'm stupid.
You're not stupid, but you need to pay attention. When you're ready, read number 2. Number 2. Number 2.
What percent of the following statements answered correctly?
Okay, so again, you're gonna do is over of equals percent over 100. So they give you the numbers here. Where are you gonna put those numbers? 54, 72. Where does that go?
Is
Mm-hmm.
and of is 72.
Good, because that's part over whole, right? What else do we do? Where do we put the x? Yep. So now you just cross multiply, right? So grab your calculator. 54 times 100 is 54 with 2 zeros. 72x. How do I get rid of the 72? Yeah, so x equals 5,400 over 72. So divide that. What does that give you? And that makes sense because 54 is pretty close to 72. It's over half, right? Okay. Number 3. Number 3. Okay, so let's try this. Is over of equals percent over 100. Where do you put 20? Is that going to be?
That's the in.
Yeah, because this is part, right? This is whole. No. It normally costs $20. So is that part or whole? Okay. Where do you put 20%? Yeah, and x goes right there, right? Now use your calculator. Tell me, what does x equal to?
X is equal to it's like equal to 4.
X is equal to 4, but the question is, what will be the new price be, right? 4 is how much you're getting off, right? So what is $20 minus 4? $16. So make sure you write that down. That's the price of the new shirt. And if you think about it, Grayson, like, you don't even have to do math or really think about how to do this. Okay, so 20% off, $20, right? If it's $10 and you're doing 20% off, 20% of $10 is $2, right? So then what's 20% of $20? Well, double the 2, which is 4, right? So it's $4 off. That's how I generally do math in my head. 20% of $10 is $2. What's 20% of $30?
I don't know.
It's $2 for every $10. How many $10 can you fit in $30? So what's $2 times 3? $6 off. Does that make sense? Does that make sense on how you like calculate in your head? All right, number 4. Okay, just go by tens. Like if I say 30% off $10, what is that? 3. So what is 30% of $40? Yeah, that's how you do it. That's it. You just break it down into tens, okay? And then you multiply the multiplier by however many it is from 10. All right, number 4. Go.
A car costs $18,000 plus tax. Tax is 7.5%. What is the total price of a car?
Okay.
What kind of car do you have?
Okay, so remember it is part over whole. Did she even go over this with you in class? All right, let's plug it in. Did you guys take notes on Thursday?
I think we took like after a little bit.
Do you have the notes in your notebook?
I think we have like a percentage question on it all too.
Mm-hmm. Grab that, please. Let me see what you took.
Okay, yeah, we barely took anything.
This is what she did right here.
Yeah.
That's all the notes. I don't believe that. What was the rest of the notes? All right, so do you think your answer is gonna be more than $18,000 or less than $18,000?
More.
More, because you have that when you buy something, it's not just $18,000. It's $18,000 plus tax, right? So where do you put 18,000? Is that part or is that whole?
That is a whole.
Okay. Where do you put the 7.5?
The percentage.
What is X gonna be?
The part.
Yeah, but what does that represent? That's a tax.
Yeah.
So let's cross multiply. So grab your calculator. Multiply it. Figure out what X is.
$135,000.
But that's not what X is. So then what do you do?
Divide it.
Yeah, what is it?
$1,350.
Okay, that's how much your tax is, right? But that's not the answer. What is it? Total price of the car. So what do you do with that number?
Have 18,000 by
Yeah.
13.
Okay, so what's your answer then?
It's 19,350.
Good. Now write that down for your price of the car. So when you're like, oh, I think I can afford this car, I'm like, no, you gotta think about taxes, right? So yeah.
Well, I mean, that car's pretty cheap overall.
Yeah, it is, but that's probably a used car. All right, number 5.
From Carvana.
Sure.
95% of the people in my neighborhood have a car. There are 160 people in my neighborhood. How many people do not?
So you have to be careful because the question is do not have a car. Okay.
I know.
So your goal is you want to find the number of people that do have a car and then subtract the number from 160 people, right? All right, so let's do part. Over whole equals percent over 100. Now you go ahead and fill it out. How would you fill this out?
Okay. So I would have my part over my whole is equal to my percentage over my whole is the 160 people.
Okay.
My percentage is the 95.
Okay.
My unknown slash X is the part.
But what does X unknown stand for? Well, what does that tell you once you find it?
It stands for
No. That stands for how many people have a car.
no, but it says how many people do not have a car.
That's what they're asking you. But this question here, 95% of the people in my neighborhood have a car. 95% have car, right? So X is the number of people that have car. You can't do 95% have car and then change it do not have car. The way that this problem set up is people have car. But you're right. The question doesn't ask you for how many people have cars. The question asks you to do what? For people that do not have a car, right? So what does that mean? That means you're going to have to take 160 minus X. So what that means is 160 minus people that have car. 160 minus people that have car equals what? The number of people that don't have car. Does that make sense? Okay, so let's figure out what X is. What does X equal to? So cross multiply.
$1,500. 152,000.
What? 1,000?
152,000.
Just give me I don't know what that means. That doesn't make any sense.
160 times 95.
Then divide by 100. I want you to solve X. Tell me how many people have cars. Your number shouldn't be bigger than 100. There's only 160 people.
No, that's just 160 times 95 by itself.
I'm not asking for that. I'm asking what is X?
1.52.
So 1.52 people have cars. Is that what you're saying out of 160 people? Does that even make any sense?
1.6. It just says 1.6.
That doesn't make any sense. 160 times 95. Do that first. 160 times 95. Now divide it by what?
1,100. I'm sorry.
It cannot be bigger than 160. Divide it by 100. Now divide it by 100.
You did.
I don't fucking believe you. This is ridiculous. 160 times 95. Hit equal. Then divide it by 100. Does that sound a little more reasonable? I hate this computer. This thing sucks. It doesn't even work.
It's your 600 tabs open.
Have cars. Question is, how many people do not have cars? So then what do you do with that X?
160 minus 152.
What does that give you?
8.
8 people do not have cars. You're gonna have to watch this because you're not getting it. Okay, so then what I want you to do is you do the last 2 questions, please. Explain what you did for number 6.
Whole of 250.
Keep going.
The percentage is 7. X is equal to the part.
What does X actually stand for?
Part.
X is going to be the 7% of 250. Is that going to be a big number or a small number, you think? Bigger than 250 or smaller than 250? Okay, if you had to make a guess what that's going to be, like 7% of 250, what do you think that would be?
I don't know, 50.
250. What's 10% of 250?
Like
10% of 250 is 25. So then your number is 7%. So should it be bigger than 25 or smaller than 25? That's how you estimate. Do you understand? Okay, let's cross multiply. Grab your calculator. 100 times X. My pen is not working. This is a piece of garbage pen. What's 7 times 250?
1,750.
Okay, and then divided by what? Which is?
17.5.
Tomorrow when you copy this part down, I want everything copied down. You understand? If I go ahead and show the work, you better go ahead and show the work. You may not just write down the answer. That is not okay. Because we had that discussion last time. Yes? Because you go ahead and ruin that again next time you do this by yourself. Now I want you to try it the next one on your own. You should be able to do the next one.
So 30 is the part. 15 is the percentage. X is equal to the whole number.
What does X represent?
The whole number.
Good. So let's cross multiply. So you should have 3,000 equals 15x. And what does X equal to?
200.
Okay. All right. That's it. That concludes everything.